This video is all about why I choose a focus point in every frame that I take. We're told from a young age, aren't we, that everything within the frame needs to be in sharp focus from foreground to background in order to be a technically good photograph. Well, I disagree, as you might expect, of course. There's lots of reasons why that is totally unnecessary. I've often thought that every composition needs to have a subject. It's obvious, really, isn't it? But so often it's easy to fall into the trap of not finding a subject. There's no intention in the shot. It just becomes a view. Nothing to see here, as it were. There's a couple of things we can do about that. Obviously, we can find a subject, focus on that particular subject, and realize it doesn't matter anything else around the subject if it's slightly blurry or soft focus. In fact, Leonardo Da Vinci, no less, in his painting, I think it was Salvatore Mundi. In that picture, he painted Jesus Christ in a sort of very soft focus with a very soft outline, but his hands were absolutely pin sharp. Now we can bring that into our own photography, can't we? So this afternoon, let's do away with this myth that it's essential to have everything in the frame in sharp focus. Okay, just have a look at this scene here. We've got a little headland, and I want you to imagine, in fact you can do this at home or when you're out on your next shoot. Focus your eyes on a particular thing, a rock, a tree, whatever it might be, and see how much of your peripheral vision is out of focus. I suspect it's going to be very out of focus. Only the thing that you're actually looking at and concentrating on is going to be in focus. So if I look at this headland, I could be looking at the rocks in the sea and this early bit of headland here, sort of in the mid-ground, as it were. When I'm looking at that, the rocks behind it and the next headland, they're out of focus, they're all blurry. In fact, even the foreground, as the waves come in, they're blurry. So if my shot was about focusing on this headland, perhaps catching the waves as they hit the shore, everything else can be blurry. The context of the shot is still there, it just doesn't have to be pin sharp. And by being in sharp focus, it draws the viewer's eye into the shot and helps tell the story. Interesting idea, eh? So next week I'm going to be talking about how to get the shot I want to have, different focusing techniques and so on. So watch out for that one next week. In the meantime, what I'm actually interested in is taking a photograph of this particular rock and reducing the complexity that is around it. I could try different angles. I much prefer this one, but I'm going to have a look at other angles as well. I'll use different focal lengths, but what I'm aiming to do is make sure that the viewer's eye is on this rock and nothing else. By having the mid-ground and the distance slightly blurred, it doesn't matter. That just gives context for this rock and where it actually sits. So let's just take a couple of shots. I want a wide focal length here. (16:9) format. Interestingly, I'm not too bothered actually about what's going on behind, as long as my rock here is just isolated from the cliffs behind. Right, I'm going to try F5. Just really as a bit of an experiment to see how that works. Interesting. So I've moved things around a little bit. Still got my rock which I'm taking shots of here. Still aiming to reduce the complexity of the scene with all the rocks behind and so on. The water behind is coming in and giving that sort of blank space between my subject and the rocks behind. Quite interesting, I've got another rock appearing as the tide recedes, and that's beginning to come into frame as well. I'm not sure I want to include that because that actually reduces, or it's not reduces, it actually increases the complexity of the shot, and the viewer might be distracted by that rock. So that's another complexity to try and remove from the shot. Brilliant, love it. Isn't it amazing when you have these winds and the weather that we're getting just at the moment just produces so much energy, so much life. Amazing, love it. So next week I'm going to show you how and where to focus in a shot. I'm going to show you that autofocus is absolutely brilliant at helping you do that. Some skill in using manual focus though is absolutely essential to get the best results. So watch out for that video next week. It'll be published same time, Thursday, 2 p.m. In the meantime, give this some thought yourself. Perhaps you've taken shots, nice big wide scenes of a beach, and got back home and thought, not really too sure what I'm looking at here. It's not as good as I thought it was. And that's a shame. And I guarantee it is entirely down to the fact that in order to tell a story at a beach, you need your subject and you need it isolated from the complexity of everything going on around it. And focus is absolutely brilliant at achieving that. By the way, if you haven't yet seen it, do have a look at my recent video about aspect ratios. It's very relevant when we're talking about these particular situations, these particular compositions. Today I've been using 16:9, but given another subject I could easily use a square or 4:5 or whatever I needed. Anyway, that's it for now, and until next time, next week in fact, bye.